Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all having an amazing day so far. So in this video we will be creating another one of these huge mega mansions within the Sims 4, but this time I tried to focus on creating something that looked very visually appealing, mainly because of that very interesting back garden that we have for this home in particular, which has this very intricate looking three-tiered sort of design to it, which is not really visible from the front of the home. And I just feel like architecturally it just makes it look super interesting, which you would definitely see a bit of as we're progressing through the video. But as you can see so far, we're sort of just like manipulating the terrain and going below like the usual level that this lot is originally on, and actually placing that first floor on that sort of basement level. And by doing this we can actually utilize the second floor as like the actual sort of main floor for the front of the home, if that makes sense. And by doing this it sort of just like tricks the game into thinking as if it's just like floating, so it doesn't actually like manipulate the terrain when you put the second floor next to the terrain, if that makes sense. So we have like a very nice flat terrain that we can work on for the front of the home, and it's just like completely functional. I just feel like it makes it look super interesting, especially when you're trying to build like a huge mega mansion or just trying to create something visually appealing on a smaller lot like this. It's kind of like a cool way to sort of just like stretch out the build vertically and just like sort of try to make it like really tall, but also trying to utilize that basement sort of like bottom like terrain level, if that makes sense. Just sort of just like add that interesting architectural element to it. And just bear in mind, I was actually inspired by quite a few real life houses when building this build as well, specifically this one particular Spanish listing, which I just really fell in love with because I just felt like it looked super interesting, especially with those very nice bright orange sort of roofing that it had that contrasted very nicely with those like plain white walls. It just worked super nicely, and on top of like utilizing those very nice black frame glass windows, it just looked amazing around like the entire home, and I just really loved how it looked. So yeah, that was kind of just like the main inspiration when I was trying to build this home in particular. And once again, you could pretty much see the entire like exterior of the shell pretty much done already. I did obviously go around and tweak it a few times here and there, but this is generally like how it sort of just like ended up turning out looking overall. But I was just really happy with it, mainly because it sort of just like looked very unique and interesting to something that I don't really build usually. And I was actually really inspired to create this three-tiered sort of like basement level for this home in particular because of my previous build that I just did, which is this like sort of cabin inspired mansion. And I just really loved utilizing that sort of like basement level without actually going into the basement, if that makes sense. And it just sort of just like makes a very striking sort of like visual element in my opinion. And for the roofing, I don't usually show a lot of my roofing, but I just wanted to show you some bits of it which I felt like was kind of like interesting to see. If you guys were like wondering how I sort of like created these like corner pieces or whatnot, just utilizing a bunch of these like small wedges sort of just like placed all together to make it look really visually appealing and interesting. And I just feel like it turned out really nice. And I do believe we are utilizing the eco lifestyle roofing in this moment as we are watching, because I did actually end up changing the roofing quite a few times to different ones from different packs, but I do believe I just ended up going with the one from the eco lifestyle expansion pack, because I just felt like it looked really modern and interesting, especially with like that honeycomb shape. I just feel like it looked really interesting. And here I actually wanted to create some sort of like unique sort of like a trellis, I guess. And the way I just did that was just by utilizing a few objects just to like make it fully customized. So I used the generic sort of like outdoor sort of leaf hedge thingy on, which had its like own bedding, but then I also wanted to utilize these coffee tables and then cover it up with like a very nice brick wall, and it sort of just gave that really custom look that I was trying to go for this build in particular. And I was sort of just like achieved that just by creating a lot of unique objects along the way as I was creating this build. I had the opportunity to sort of just like hide the bins back there as well, because I don't really like putting like the bins right at the front of the home. I sort of just like covering them up. If you are a member of the channel for a while now, you probably know that I do tend to like cover up my bins and whatnot, because I really want like the exterior of the home to be like really visually appealing. And for the front of the home, where we have these like very nice detailed bushes as well, those are also custom. So we actually use these like very simple shrubs and bushes, and I sort of just like placed a debug sort of like wooden sort of like stem onto it, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's just sort of like created a very custom small sort of like bush or like tree, if that makes sense. And yeah, so far you can pretty much see that free tier come to life for this build in particular, and I just really loved how it turned out, especially with the utilization of those very huge eco lifestyle sliding doors. It just worked super nicely, and I feel like the inspiration pick that I was trying to go off of really had those like huge sliding doors as well, and I was just really inspired by that as well. And I just really love utilizing them in general as well, mainly because I just really enjoy creating these like modern looking builds. And I just really love how the swimming pool area area turned out as well, because although it's not really like some sort of like infinity pool edge swimming pool or whatnot, it still turned out really nice because it sort of met with the original level of the lot that it was originally at, if that makes sense. So I sort of just like elevated it and just tried to make something look really unique, and that was sort of just like a custom version of the house. So if you guys are familiar with the house that I was actually inspired for this build in particular, it's not an exact one-to-one replica, so yeah, you might have to keep that in mind if you guys are planning to sort of just like download the exact replica or whatnot. But yeah, moving on to the outdoor furnishing, I wanted to keep with this like very nice wooden sort of like dark browns and light brown textures, and just like a lot of these like nice beige tones, just trying to keep it like this like very warm, simple color, just trying to make it feel as cozy as possible. And I really love the utilization of that very nice sort of like outdoor fireplace, which I just really love, and I just feel like it turned out super nice. And I actually used quite a lot of objects from that kit. I believe it's the one that was for free a few months ago, and I just really love all of the objects that came in that kit in particular. There's just like a lot of modern and simplistic pieces from that kit in particular, and I just feel like it turned out super nice with the utilization with the horse ranch sort of like cabinetries and whatnot. And yeah, I just feel like it turned out super nice. And here we actually have a very nice and simple sort of like outdoor kitchen area, I guess, where you can sort of host a very nice like family meal. We do also have a barbecue area as well as like a nice bar area here as well, and we do also end up adding some very nice sort of like family seating area here as well. I feel like it's like really realistic. I feel like for a home like this, you would want to entertain a lot of people, and I just feel like this home is the perfect one to do it, especially with that very huge swimming pool that you got at the back garden, as well as like that very nice huge kitchen. We have pretty much like 2 different kitchens in this house in particular in itself, so like this is pretty much a very huge mansion. If you guys are planning to download this, I believe there's about like 7 bedrooms within this home just by itself without needing to add any extras. So I feel like you'll be pretty much fine if you do want to just like play with it without editing any of it or whatnot. And I actually wanted to add a very nice sort of like waterfall feature, so it sort of just like create that element of like an infinity edge pool, but on the sort of like home side facing, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was sort of just like a nice interesting touch to add for this build in particular, and I just added some very nice sort of like custom flower pots and stuff like that, as well as like with the very nice like tall grasses around like the front part of the swimming pool area, which I feel like turned out really nice. Initially I had it going around the entire swimming pool perimeter, but then I just didn't really like how it looked because I felt like there was just a bit too much greenery. So instead I just sort of like divided it up and just like placed it on the sides, and the part of the pool which sort of poked out towards the home, I sort of just like wanted to create like a nice fountain feature. And I also utilized the pond tool for the terrain and just like sort of like raised it up and made it some sort of like fake fountain area, which I feel like turned out really amazing. And I also experimented with quite a lot of outdoor sort of lighting fixtures, and this was the one that I sort of ended up going with, mainly because I just feel like it worked with the modernization that I was trying to go for this home in particular. These ones from the Dream Home Decorator pack definitely was super handy, and I also utilized these very nice spotlights going around sort of like a lot of the catwalks and like pathways for the outdoor areas of the home, which I feel like turned out really nice with like just emitting some small simple light around the home and area of the home. And yeah, moving on into the interior now, we're actually starting off with the sort of like front area of an entrance of the home. I kind of wanted to utilize a lot of these like shelving units and storage pieces, but instead I just ended up using this very nice glass table for the front of the home because I feel like it felt the most realistic. And I sort of went with this like very nice like dark gray sort of color scheme for this corner of the home, but don't worry, we don't actually utilize a lot of like these beige or like dull colors throughout the entire home. We do actually utilize quite a lot of color, which you would see as we go on and progress throughout the video. But right now I just wanted to create this like very nice and simple looking entrance which felt a bit calming, and I feel like the color gray really does suit that and like just like making you feel a bit more calm in my opinion, and I feel like it worked out really nicely. And I did also want to utilize a lot of like accent walls throughout the home as well, which you would see quite a lot of it throughout this build. And for this main living area, I was kind of like puzzled on what I wanted to do, mainly because it was sort of just like in the middle of the actual like room or like the area of the entrance of the home, and I wasn't really sure how I wanted to go about it. And I decided to go with this crown styled sort of seating L-shaped section, which was fully custom, and I just feel like it turned out really nice. And we also paired it with the crown styled sort of armchairs as well, which I feel like turned out really nice with like sort of trying to make it feel a bit more cohesive. And right now you might be noticing that there's just like quite a lot of white going on out, and it was just looking a bit too simple, especially with that very nice like sort of plain white wall color, which I actually really do like, but I feel like quite a lot of people would prefer a lot of like personality and like customization within their home. So by taking that into consideration, I really wanted to add some color within this living room in particular as well. So you will definitely see quite a lot of color coming soon, but I also wanted to utilize the get to work sort of like very thin sort of coffee table, which I feel like I wish it was in like the normal section, because you have to go into like a different section in order to find that sort of table. But I just really love how it looks, and it just works very nicely in these like very modern homes. But I utilize this very nice colorful rug, and I just feel like it kind of just like made sense to create an accent wall to match that rug in particular as well, just like to make the colors feel a bit more cohesive. And I feel like parts of the wood that you see on the candle tray and whatnot actually matches the orange within the carpet as well, which I feel like just worked perfectly in the end, in my opinion. And yeah, I just feel like I was really happy with how much color and detail I added into that sort of living space. But yeah, moving on to the left hand side of that living space and entrance space, we actually have a very spacious office, and I just really love how this one turned out as well, mainly because it has that very modern style that I love utilizing, but it incorporates a hint of color throughout the entire space as well, which I feel like looks super interesting. And I do get like a lot of like dull spaces and whatnot, like keeping it like very monochromatic isn't really that interesting. So I really do try to add a lot of these like colors and stuff like that from different accents, whether it's from the pillows or from the plants and whatnot. It just adds a lot of detail into the home without having to, you know, mess up and like utilize a lot of these like really messy colors for the main furniture pieces throughout the entire build. I feel like I really do love utilizing a lot of these like simplistic tones, such as like these like beiges, whites, blacks and grays, but just sort of just like adding brighter colors and stuff like that from like accent pieces and like small decor like clutter pieces and whatnot, which I feel like makes a bit more sense for the sort of like design and style that I was trying to go for most of my builds in general, to be honest. And I just really love how I just incorporated those very nice like two cozy sort of like armchairs that looked out towards that very nice huge sliding door, which I feel like looks super nice and cozy. And I will also make sure to double check if that is completely functional before adding that to the gallery, and if it is not, I'll obviously just like change it up before adding it to the gallery, and you will just know that it's completely functional once it is on the gallery. But yeah, moving on into the kitchen now, we're actually going for this super white minimalistic looking kitchen, and I was actually like really happy with how it turned out, but I feel like quite a lot of people wouldn't really prefer a white kitchen, especially within the Sims, because you know you have that freedom to sort of like design and create it however you want and just like add as much color and whatnot. So instead I did actually go back and add quite a lot of accent walls. As you could probably see, like I'm already experimenting with like adding different cabinetries for the wall cabinets and just like changing the colors of them and whatnot, but I wasn't really happy with that sort of dark brown color that I was going for. So instead I just added a very nice black swatch to certain accents and fixtures for this like main kitchen area in particular. So as you can see, like the stove top and the sink and the fridge and whatnot had this like very nice incorporation of that black color, as well as like from the smaller clutter pieces as well, such as like the small sort of like waffle maker, as well as like that very nice sort of like cookbook kit which came from the Home Chef Hustle kit as well. And I just really love utilizing those and just like sort of like mixing it up and creating these like unique colors and whatnot. This is more of like a very like sort of masculine sort of like styled home in my opinion, because it has that incorporation of a lot of these like very like nice dark features, and I feel like it works super nicely with like creating this very nice like dark cozy vibe and feel, if that makes sense. And once again, we're going into the main hallway again and just like adding some extra clutter here and there, but this time I wanted to add a very nice sort of like simple gray sort of like nice seating area on like certain parts of the walls, just to like fill up the space and just like make it look a bit more interesting. And usually I don't really show a lot of my bathrooms, but I did actually end up showing this one, mainly because this is like the main like primary bathroom for this floor in particular, so it's not really like an ensuite or whatnot, or like not accessible by anyone. So I just wanted to show you guys how I make my general bathrooms for these sort of like homes in particular. But yeah, moving on to the L-shaped size of this home now, we actually have the sort of like garage area, and I of course wasn't intending to leave this empty at all, so I wanted to utilize it and make it feel functional just by adding some like crafting tables, a nice easel, just like adding some objects that I feel like would be very functional and just like useful for your Sims, and as well just like adding some nice simple gym equipment. You could never go wrong with that, to be honest, especially when you're trying to create like a realistic looking home. It's kind of just like a nice way to just like utilize a lot of gym equipment, which I feel like a lot of people do that in their real life homes anyway. So yeah, it just added that like extra realism to that sort of like part of the home, in my opinion. And we do also have a very nice spacious like bedroom on that floor as well. And the bedroom that we're actually looking at right now is on the first floor. So it's sort of just like the first floor slash basement level of the home, which is like on the level of like where the actual like garden area is. And I just really love how this bedroom in particular turned out. And on the sides of the video, you might actually notice that we have additional sort of like living spaces as well as like another kitchen. We have a more darker masculine kitchen on the bottom floor of the home. So this home does actually come with two different living rooms as well as two different kitchens as well. And I feel like it kind of made sense to do that, mainly because you kind of want access from your garden straight into your living room or like your kitchen and whatnot. But I didn't want to leave the second floor, like the main part of the home, empty either. And I didn't really want to just include one sort of like kitchen or like living space, so I had to just like incorporate two, especially with like the scale of this home. I feel like it kind of just like made sense to utilize it and just like make it as functional as possible. But yeah, moving on to the third floor now, we actually have the nursery room, which I just really love how it turned out. I sort of went with this bluish theme for it. I wasn't really like focusing on a specific gender, but it sort of just like ended up turning out to just utilize the blue color scheme. And I just really love how it turned out, just utilizing that very nice birch sort of like beige wood tone on parts of the wood as well for certain parts of the furniture, which I feel like turned out really nice. And I just really like utilizing the same color of the furniture, or like the same tones, because I feel like it just makes it feel a lot more cohesive. And just added the general sort of like very nice rocking chair from the Growing Together expansion pack, just adding some very nice baby books on the wall, as well as like some skill building items and just like a lot of like playful objects, such as like that shelving unit, a toy chest box, as well as like adding some curtains and stuff like that, just to add to the realism, because I feel like you would definitely have curtains in a nursery like this, which has quite a lot of windows actually, which I wasn't really intending to have that many windows in a nursery, but it sort of just like turned out to happen like that. And I just really love the end product of it, to be honest. But yeah, moving on into the main bedroom of this home, which is on the third floor. This home actually has quite a lot of footprint within this third floor in particular, mainly because it has like two different wings to it. So we have the right side of the wing, which sort of like houses the bathroom, but then on the left side we have a very spacious sort of like walk-in wardrobe area, which sort of leads into their like sort of private terrace balcony area, which I actually really love the utilization of. It just sort of like made their bedroom feel a bit more special, which is the main reason why I sort of like classified this bedroom as the master bedroom in particular, or like the primary bedroom in particular. I just feel like it looked super interesting, and it just like fit and like sort of made sense with all the space that it sort of had. And I didn't actually include a desk within this bedroom in particular, mainly because I feel like the main primary bedroom will probably be like the father or the mother, who probably has like their own office space to work with and wouldn't really want to carry that up into their own room, if that makes sense. They'll probably want to just like chill out and hang out within their bedroom without having to focus on and prioritizing work, whereas most of the other bedrooms that have their own en-suites and their own desks and whatnot would probably be like prioritized by the kids and stuff. But yeah, I just really love the color utilization and like the simple hues of that beige color that I utilized throughout this entire master bedroom in particular, mainly because I just feel like it turned out super nice with the utilization of that very nice simple color. It just made it feel a bit more cozy in my opinion, and I just really love how there's quite a lot of objects with this like very simple bright birch beige sort of color, so it kind of just like made sense to utilize that for this build in particular. And it just sort of like works with how much of this color I actually utilize within this build as well. So yeah, I do apologize if you guys don't really like that color, but I feel like it turned out really nice, and that is pretty much like the only bedroom that actually has that sort of beige color. So yeah, the other bedrooms pretty much have like a very nice like dark red color. We do also have like a very nice plain white one, as well as like a very nice black one, which we'll get onto later in the video. But right now we're focusing on the master bedroom bathroom, which I honestly loved how this one turned out as well, because I just really love the utilization of this very nice sort of like, it's not really floor to ceiling, but this very huge glass mirror that has this like very nice light going around it, which I believe came from Spa Day, and I just love the way that looks within these bathrooms. And I don't actually utilize those in all my bathrooms, because I feel like I utilize those in my more luxurious ones, and this was sort of just like the best occasion to utilize them in. And I just really like that lines wall decal decor as well, because I feel like it looks super nice. And I also placed a bunch of clutter within this bathroom as well, and just made it that very nice simple white color, which I feel like it kind of felt a bit more realistic, to be honest. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the entire primary suite. Now moving on into the final bedroom, which I'll be showcasing within this build in particular, we're going for a more darker theme, and I just really love how this bedroom in particular turned out. And you guys can let me know what you guys think about this build in particular in the comment sections below. I would love to know your thoughts and suggestions. But I just really love how this bedroom in particular turned out, mainly because I feel like I thought when I was building it was going to just turn into like a generic black and white bedroom, but it actually didn't. It actually turned out to be something very interesting and unique. And I utilized quite a lot of these like unique mirror designs on top of this like very chic looking sort of dresser, which I feel like turned out super nice and interesting, especially with the addition of that very nice tray that I placed on top of the dresser, which I feel like turned out super nice and amazing. And yeah, I just really love how I just incorporated a lot of these like these very nice simple whites, grays and like black colors throughout the entire home, and just like and this room in particular, and just made it fit really nicely, to be honest. And with the addition of that life and death expansion pack desk, it just worked out super nicely with the color coordination and whatnot. And yeah, I just feel like this room in particular just really has this very nice and mature sort of feel to it, in my opinion, which I feel like is sort of just like the vibe that I'll sort of go for in real life as well. And I just really love how this bedroom in particular turned out. And yeah, I also wanted to make sure that I incorporated a very nice accent wall into this bedroom as well, which is pretty much what I did for every single one of my bedrooms. And I also fell in love with the idea of sort of just like placing this stone slab table and then sort of just like placing a sort of like fire pit on top of it. I thought it looked very luxurious and interesting, and I just wanted to incorporate that throughout most of the sort of like garden, terrace, balcony areas. And yeah, that seems to be pretty much it for this entire speed build. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think by leaving a like and subscribing, and comment down below what you guys think about this build in general, if you guys liked it or if you guys didn't like it. And I do also have a bunch more videos like this on the channel if you guys are interested. But thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.